And welcome back to With You With Me's Week 2 of Basic Excel and Data Analysis Skills. This week we will be practicing using VLOOKUP to merge data between two tables. We'll be using a simple formula to create some new data to work with. We will also be inserting a pivot table and using a simple graph or two to start our analysis process. This is week 2's data set. We're going to be merging this data into last week's data set. We're going to use VLOOKUP, but first of all we need to put this into table format. So if you remember from last week, we're going to click into the first square, hold Control and Shift and press down and across, and then we're going to press Control T to make the table. Make sure you've got your headers ticked and press OK. Okay, now we are just going to change the size of these because they look massive. And now we're going to split our screen. So hold at the top of your browser here and drag it until it pops up like that. And then select your second table. This is just an easier way to be able to view both Excel spreadsheets at once. The first step, we're going to change this table here that says branch number to store number. I want both headings in these tables to be the same because they're the same information. I want there to be no errors when I try and use a VLOOKUP. So we'll just change that to store number. Okay, and now we are going to insert some columns. To do that, I'm going to click into the last column and click right click. I'm going to insert table column to the right, and I'm going to do that 3 times to insert 3 new columns. Okay, and we're going to label these, and we're going to label them the exact same way as we have them written in table 2. Next to hours per audit, I'm going to put revisits to site. And then next column, I'm going to put labour spent. So that one's going to stay blank for now. And then for this last column, I'm going to put estimated time to complete job. So to start VLOOKUP, we're going to select equals and start typing VLOOKUP. Now the lookup value is the value you want Excel to find and then match with the data you want to import. So that's going to be, we want store numbers to match. So click in square A2 for store numbers, the top store number, and press comma. The table array we are looking at is table 2. So click into table 2 at the top square of table 2. Control and hold shift. Control and shift and press down and press across to select the table. And then the column index is the column you want the value to find the value of. So we want column 4 here, which is revisits to site. So column 4 and then comma. And we want to select false, which is actually exact match. I know that sounds backwards, it's just the way Excel does it. and we're going to close our brackets and press enter. And then to drag that formula all the way down to the bottom of the column, get your little black plus and double click. Like that. And as you can see, all these values total are exactly the same in both tables. Now we could have used transpose or copy and paste, but the risk of that is if both tables are not in the exact same order, they won't match up. They'll just copy and paste as you have it in table 1 or table 2. So if we were to go into table 2 and filter for, we were going to sort it smallest to largest, that's not going to work, because over here in table 1 we have at row 18 here store number 301, and if we were to just copy and paste that, that would still bring us whatever is in column 18 of table 2, which is 0. And let's just check. Let's just see what is in column 18. It's 1, so that would be incorrect, and it could cause a lot of problems with the data set. So we're going to do the VLOOKUP for estimated time. So equals VLOOKUP lookup value, is store number again, comma, table array is table 2, comma, and the column this time is column 3, comma, and again we want exact match, so false, and close brackets and enter. And again we want to drag that down with your double click on your black plus. So now that we have all the data in table 1, we no longer need table 2, so I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay, now we've got table 1 here. Our next step is to calculate how much total labor, how much we spent on total labor for each audit. Now we're going to add this revisits to site to the audit, the time at the audit. What we're going to assume is that each extra revisit was an hour long, and our labor cost per hour per audit is $115 for each hour. So that's going to make it really simple and easy for us to just figure out how to do this. So we're going to use a simple formula, equals, open brackets, we are going to add hours per audit, we're going to plus revisits to site, close brackets, and then we're going to times that by $115 and enter. And so for store number 200, it cost us $230 for the audit. Now to drag that formula down, you know what to do. We've done it several times now. And so that we'll just double check that all is wonderful. Okay, if we wanted to sort this column out to see which was the largest, or which store cost the most. So we've got 2 stores here at $805. Wowee, that's a lot for one audit. So let's analyze that a little bit more, and let's move on to making a pivot table. Select pivot table from your insert menu. I want you to put it into a new worksheet. Okay, and we're going to look at which tech had the most hours or most revisits to store. So the way we're going to find which tech had the most revisits to site is quite simple. We're going to put revisits to site. We're going to drag that into the values column, and I'm going to leave it on sum. Now, if you were to pick count, and I'll change it now, just so you can see. If we're going to pick count, it's going to bring up every value, whether it was 1, 2, 3, or 0, and it's going to count those. I don't want it to count zeros because a 0 in the revisits to site section actually means there weren't any. So I don't want it to count those because they're not errors, they're not revisits. I don't want them to be in the total for each tech. So we're going to put that back to sum. And then I'm going to put tech into rows. So I'm going to drag tech into rows. And then I'm going to bring metro/regional down to columns. Okay, so that breaks it down to each tech and whether they had, and how many metro and how many regional revisits they had. And now I'm going to add a graph. So insert recommended charts. And I'm going to choose a clustered column. And there we go. So there we go. And that is the clustered column for sum of revisits to site. Alrighty, we're going to break it down again. And I want to see the number of 1, 2, and 3 revisits each tech had. So I'm going to bring revisits into the axis. Okay, and here we go. See, this is how many revisits each tech had in the 1, 2, and 3 category. Now, I want to know what you think, what this means. What does this data tell you? This next step, this analyzing step, is important, but remember you can always go back to your data, have a play around with it and see what else you can find before you make your final report. So if you would like to email me and see if you're on the right track, go ahead. Next week I will be going through what I reckon has happened here. So the things to practice for next week is using VLOOKUP again, inserting some new pivot tables, play around with the data, see what you can come up with, and then also using the pivot tables to insert some different styles of graphs. I want you to have a look at what you like in particular and why you like certain visualizations. There are some rules and guidelines we can work with, but we'll go more into that more next week. We'll also start some simple analysis and the beginnings of building a report, to one that you would take to your manager. All right, so that's it for this week. I look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, have a good week. Bye.